What if a single story could shift your perspective, ease your mind, and inspire you to live with more compassion, joy, and satisfaction? What if a single story could create conditions for insight that will lead to more happiness for the rest of your life? Stories have that power, and today I invite you to begin a journey with me into the wisdom they hold. This is the first video in a series where we'll explore ancient stories that speak to our modern lives. Stories have always been a doorway for me, a way to learn about myself, others, and the world. As a child growing up in the snowy suburbs of Moscow, I'd curl up on the couch while my mom read to me. Outside, naked trees stood covered in snow for months. Freezing temperatures would keep even the most excited dogs at home. And the sun would show its face only for a few hours a day. But inside, the stories painted vivid landscapes in my mind. Those stories made me laugh, made me cry, and feel deeply. Stories taught me about love, about loss, about resilience and friendships. My name is Ilya. I'm a meditation and mindfulness teacher with almost 15 years of practice and 20 years career in the tech world. My biggest passion is to help busy people discover natural ease, joy, and satisfaction that is the foundation of every human mind, no matter the life situation we find ourselves in. As a teacher, I've come to see that stories hold a very unique power. They bypass the intellect and speak directly to the heart. We often get their insight without even thinking about it, and then we slowly integrate it into our lives. In this series of videos, I'll be sharing wisdom stories from the last 2,000 years. These are not just tales of monks or mystics from distant lands and distant times. These are stories about our lives today. My life, your life. These are stories about our shared human experience. Stories that inspire us to be better human beings and to enjoy life to its fullest. The first story I want to share is called Muddy Road. It's story number 14 from the book called Zen Flesh, Zen Bones. It takes us back to Japan a few hundred years ago and offers us a wonderful lesson about letting go and living with more ease. This is how it goes. Tanzan and Ekido were once traveling together down a muddy road. A heavy rain was still falling. Coming around the bend, they met a lovely girl in a silk kimono and sash, unable to cross the intersection. A sash is a belt made of satin or silk that secures the kimono. "Come on, girl," said Tanzan at once. Lifting her in his arms, he carried her over the mud. Ekido did not speak again until that night when they reached a lodging temple. Then he no longer could restrain himself. "We monks don't go near women," he told Tanzan, "especially not young and lovely ones. It is dangerous. Why did you do that?" "I left the girl there," said Tanzan. "Are you still carrying her?" "I left the girl there," said Tanzan. "Are you still carrying her?" For the context, monks and nuns at that time took vows of celibacy, which included not touching people of the opposite sex. They considered it dangerous because it might take them out of the mental states they're trying to cultivate. This simple story offers two really profound lessons. All of us in our life are sometimes Tanzan and sometimes Ekido. Let's unpack it together. Tanzan saw someone in need and chose to act, not out of obligation or defiance of his vows, but from a place of compassion. He let go of rigid rules to do what the moment called for. How often do we let our fixed ideas or rigid expectations hold us back? Maybe your child needs your attention, but all you want is a moment of peace, so you give them a half-hearted response. Or perhaps you want to speak up at work about something that is not working well, but you fear judgment and don't do it. Tanzan reminds us to stay present with the reality that is right in front of us. Where in your life can you let go of rigid expectations or what you believe about yourself and others to truly show up? I remember one day my partner and I had a dinner at a restaurant. After we finished, we were walking to our car, and I was carrying a box with quite a lot of leftovers from the meal. As we were walking, I saw a homeless person. They were sitting outside in the cold, and they were clearly suffering. My first instinct was to give them the food, and I noticed how right after that instinct arose, my mind said, "But you will not have food tomorrow. You paid a lot for this meal," and really tried to talk me out of it. Luckily, I had enough awareness at that moment to be aware of these thoughts, and I gave the food to the person who truly needed it more than I did. Sometimes what the moment asks of us is more difficult and less clear. But in any case, can you hold your beliefs and expectations lightly and be more available to respond to what's in front of you? If you'd like to learn more about letting go of fixed beliefs and how it creates a closer connections with other people, you will also enjoy the story called A Cup of Tea from Zen Flesh, Zen Bones. You'll find a link to it in the description below. The second lesson in this story is about Ekido. He carried the memory of Tanzan's action all day, letting it grow heavier and louder with each step. Haven't we all been there? Someone cuts you off in traffic, and hours later, you're still replaying it or ruminating about it. You get upset maybe because of a comment from a partner or because of what your kid has done, and days later, it's still weighing on you. How often do you carry anger, frustration, or resentment long after something happens? Sometimes we carry it for hours, sometimes for months, and sometimes for years and the rest of our lives, and we die with it. We're convinced that we feel the way we do because of the other person, but if you look really carefully at your mind and at reality, it becomes clear that the original event is long gone. Maybe even the person is no longer around. The truth is, it's not what happened that burdens us. It's our mind. It's the story we keep telling ourselves. According to Harvard brain scientist Dr. Jill Bolt Taylor, the chemical process that triggers most emotions lasts around 90 seconds. If you continue to feel an emotion for more than 90 seconds after the triggering event is over, it means that it's your mind and the stories it runs that continue to trigger the emotions. When Tanzan says, "I left the girl there, are you still carrying her?" he points out a very freeing truth. We can choose to put down our burdens. They no longer match reality. As the saying goes, carrying anger or resentment is like drinking poison and hoping the other person suffers. But the only one who truly suffers from it is you. This doesn't mean we ignore life's challenges. If your child does something you don't approve of, you address it. If you have a conflict with your partner or parents or coworker, you work through it. But once the moment has passed, once the conversation is over, can you let go? Or maybe a better question is, how quickly can you let go? There are reasons why we get hurt and carry this weight around, and there are many different tools to put it down. I will not be able to cover all of them in this video, but I want to give you 3 effective steps that you can take right away to ease some of the burden. The first step is notice and experience the burden. Awareness and curiosity are always the first step. Recognize that you're ruminating, replaying the story, or holding on to pain from the past. And if you can, allow yourself to experience those stories and emotions and the body sensations that come with them. The second step is inquire what's underneath the story. What did the difficult situation touch that keeps the story running in your mind? For example, when someone cuts me off in traffic, I get really scared. And the mind, instead of feeling the fear, starts ruminating about the other person. It's kind of a defense mechanism from my own emotions. Once I allow myself to feel the fear, the story and the memory of the situation clears up all by itself. So please be curious about the story and emotions that are underneath the story that you keep telling yourself. And the third step is take action if needed. Sometimes letting go requires an action that is not always easy. Maybe forgiving someone, maybe having an honest conversation, or maybe seeking a deeper healing through therapy. And sometimes it's just setting an intention to stop feeding the story in your mind. That is also not always easy. In the long term, the most powerful practice is to live fully in the present moment. And you can cultivate it through meditation. It's the practice of experiencing this moment through your senses. The sound of the car outside, the warmth or coolness of the body, the rhythm of your breath, the taste of food, the faces of your loved ones. The more you inhabit the present moment, the more you let go into the now, the less room there is for the weight of the past. If you'd like to understand more deeply why your mind carries these burdens and practice the different tools for putting them down, please click the link for Microdosing Mindfulness program, or MDM, in the description below. I'm going to start the next MDM cohort in a few weeks. MDM offers really deep insights into how our mind creates dissatisfaction and friction in life, and shares practices to find freedom from them. It's January 3rd today, a time when many of us reflect on the past and set intentions for the future. As you do that, I invite you to pause and ask, what am I still carrying? What stories from the past are weighing me down? And which goals and intentions are reactive responses to my stories and past pain, and do I really need them? One of my main intentions this year is to practice putting things down faster. When challenge arises, I want to respond to it with care. But once it's resolved, I want to meet the next moment of this life, fresh, unbounded by the stories from the past. I invite you to join me in this intention. Let's stop drinking this poison. Let's stop carrying what no longer serves us. As Tanzan reminds us, I left the girl over there. Are you still carrying her? Thank you for listening. I hope this story touched you. I'll be sharing more stories in the coming weeks and throughout the year. May you be well, and may this year bring ease, joy, and satisfaction to you and your loved ones.